The Saga of Ragnar Loðbrok, translated by Chris Van Dyke. Read aloud by Goði Beast. In Heimdallr, Heimir heard the tidings of the death of Sigurd and Brunhild. Aslog, their daughter, and his foster child, was then 3 winters old. He knew that there would be an attempt to destroy the girl at the end of her line. So great was his grief for Brunhild, his fosterling, that he did not care for either his kingdom or his goods. When he realized that he could not keep the girl hidden there, he had a harp made which was so large that he could place the maiden Aslog within it, with many treasures of gold and silver. And then he went abroad throughout the lands, and afterward through the regions of Northlands. His harp was so skillfully made that it could be taken apart and put together at the joints, and on the days when he came beside a waterfall that was nowhere near a farm, he would take the harp apart and bathe the little girl. He had one venlock, which he gave to her to eat. It was the nature of this leek that a man could live long though he had no other food. And when the girl wept, he played the harp, and then she would fall silent, since Heimir was well versed in the Ithlotur that were customary at the time. He had many glorious clothes with her in the harp, and much gold. Then he went from there out until he came to Noreg, when he came to a small farm which was called Spennerheith, and there lived a poor man named Aki. He had a wife, and she was called Grima. There were no others than themselves. One day the poor man had gone into the woods, and the poor woman was at home. She greeted Heimir and asked what kind of man he might be. He said he was a beggar, and asked the poor woman to give him lodgings. She said that not many came there, so she could easily take him in, and if he thought it was necessary. Then it came about that he had said it seemed to him the greatest comfort would be if a fire would be lit before him, and therefore he was accompanied to the sleeping hall where he might sleep. And then, when the poor woman had kindled the fire, he set the harp beside himself, and the poor woman was not very talkative. Often her eyes were drawn to the harp, since the fringes of one of the glorious dresses struck out of the harp. And when he rubbed his limbs before the fire, she saw one glorious gold ring showing from under his rags, since he was badly clothed. And when he had warmed himself as much as he thought was needed, then he had supper. After that, he told the poor woman to guide him to where he might sleep during the night. The poor woman said it might be better for him to be outside than inside, since my husband and I often talk when he comes home. He told her to make the decision. Then he went out alone with her. He took the harp and kept it with him. The poor woman went out until she came to a barn and accompanied him into it, and said that he should stay there, and said that he might expect to enjoy his sleep there. And then the poor woman went on to her way and busied herself with her daily tasks, and he himself went to sleep. The poor man came home when evening had fallen, but the poor woman had done little of what she needed to do. And when he was weary when he came home, and difficult to deal with when all was not done which she should have done. The poor man said that there must be a great difference in their happiness when he worked each day more than he could, but she did not get on with those things which needed to be done. "Do not be angry, husband," she said, "because it may be that you might, with a short while's work, ensure that we will be happy for all time." "What is this?" said the poor man. The poor woman answered, "A man came here to our farm, and I think that he has much wealth with him for traveling. He is bowed by old age, but he must have been a great hero, though now he is very weary. I do not think I have seen his equal, but I think he is tired and sleepy." The poor man said, "It seems inadvisable to me to betray one of those who have come here." She answered, "This is why you will for a long time be a little man, for all grows large in your eyes. You must now do one of 2 things. Either you kill him, or I will take him as my husband, and we will drive you away. And I can tell you of how it happened when he spoke to me earlier this evening, and it will seem unpleasant to you. He spoke lustfully with me, and it is my plan to take him as my husband and drive you away or kill you if you will not do what I want." It is said that the poor man had a domineering wife, and she went on until he gave into her goading, took up his axe, and whetted it keenly. And when he was done, his wife led him to where Heimir slept, and was then snoring greatly. Then the poor woman told the poor man that he should make an attack as best he could, and then leap away quickly, since you will not be able to withstand it if he gets his hands on you. She then took the harp and went away with it. Then the poor man went to where Heimir slept. He struck at him and gave him a great wound, but he dropped his axe. He at once leapt away as quickly as he could. Then Hymir woke at the blow, which was his bane. And it is said that so great a din arose in his death throes that the pillars of the house collapsed, and all the house fell down, and a great earthquake occurred, and there his life ended. Then the poor man went to where the poor woman was, and said that he had killed him. But nevertheless, for a while I was not certain how it would go, as this man was terribly powerful. But I expect that he might now be in hell. The poor woman said that he should have thanks for the deed, and it gives me hope that now we will have sufficient money, and we shall see whether what I said was true. Then they lit there a fire, and the poor woman took the harp and wanted to open it up, but I was not able to do it any other way than breaking it, since she had no skill at the craft. And then she went and opened up the harp, and there she saw the girl child, such as she thought she had not seen before, along with much money in the harp. Then the poor man spoke. Now it must happen, as it often does, that it will turn out badly for those who betray one who trusts them. It seems to me that a pendant has come into our hands. The poor woman said, This is not as I expected, but no harm will come about it. And then she asked what the girl's family line might be. But the young girl did not answer, as she had not yet begun to talk. Now it has come about as I expected, that our plan goes badly, says the poor man. We have committed a great crime. How shall we provide for this child? That is clear, said Grima. She shall be called Kraka, after my mother. Then the poor man said, Well, how shall we provide for this child? The poor woman answered, I see a good plan. We shall call her our daughter and raise her up. No one will believe that, said her husband, as this child is much more pleasing than we are. We are both born very ugly, and people will not think it likely that we have a child like this, as uncommonly ugly as we both are. Then the poor woman spoke, You do not know that I have a cunning plan, so this might not seem unlikely. I will shave her head, and rub in tar and other things when it's expected that her hair will come back in. She will then have a hat. She will not be very well clothed. We will all look alike then. It may be that men will believe that I had great beauty when I was young, and then she shall do all the worst work. And the poor man and poor woman thought that she was unable to speak, because she never answered them. Then it came about as the woman had first suggested. She grew up there, and was very poor. And this ends chapter 1.